How you doing? There he is. Where's he been? Well, I've been a little remiss in recording things, and I thought I'd give you a little update as to why, and hopefully in the future I'll have a few other things to say. It started a little bit of time ago. I developed a kidney stone, and any of you that may have had one of these know how painful they are, and they're a real butt kicker. And so I went to the emergency room, and they gave me medications, blah, blah. And they sent me in for a scan to, determine that it was a stone and where it was and that. And so they took the scan, and they saw that. And that might have been the end of it, except that the radiologist looked, and he thought that there was a little bit of abnormality with my aorta in the lower part of the scan. So he sent me back in. And they took a broader scan, and that one came out, and sure enough, there I have an aneurysm, a ballooning of the aorta in the abdominal cavity. And not only that, but where the aorta splits to go to each leg, there's another balloon in each one of those, plus another balloon and another one. So I got these 4 aneurysms, and they say that I should go see a vascular specialist, so I do. And I talked to this man. He's very competent. He shows me the scans and explains everything to me. And he says that I kind of have a choice. And I said, well, what's the choice? And he says, well, we could go in abdominally and do a surgery and correct all of these at once. He says, if it was just a single one, we could probably go in through your femoral artery and do one of these little stents. But there's too much work here, and we have to go in abdominally. And he says it's not a simple process. And I said, well, what's the alternative if I just kind of ignore this? And he says, well, there's a 15% chance in the next 12 months you'll keel over dead. And then in the next 12 months, it'll be 30%. And in the next 12 months, it'll be 45%. And in 6 months, it's going to be about 100%. Because these aneurysms are large enough that they're in kind of this something is going to happen zone. Well, that's a kick in the face. So I think about that a little bit, and I could just ignore it, but then you're looking over your shoulder, for the rest of your life, or wondering every time if you pick up a suitcase or something, if that's going to be your final act. And talked with my wife, and we decided we would go through with the surgery. So they set the surgery up, and then I start thinking about it a little bit, because I have this medical background, and it's kind of a plague to have that because you know enough about surgery and anesthesia and that to know the things that can go wrong. And so I start trying to determine, exactly, how can this thing kill me? And the first way it can is through surgical incompetence or somebody making a mistake in surgery and whatever. So you have to be somewhat careful of your surgeon. Well, turns out I really luck out because the large hospital we have here is a regional 3 or 4 state center for vascular surgery. And everybody ships their vascular problems here to be corrected. So they have a great team set up. They do a lot of these. They know what they're doing. I talked to my surgeon, and he asked him, how many of these things have you done? Because if it's his first one, you get a little worried. But he says, no, he says, I can't tell you because I've been doing these for 21 years, and I've done so many of them that I've lost count. And so I'm feeling pretty good about that level of expertise. So I check that box off. And then he says, we have 5 vascular surgeons here, board certified, and we always have 2 of them participate in any of the surgeries. So I figure, well, we've got 4 hands there that know what they're doing. That's good. So we set the date up. And he calls back a week or so later, and he wants to extend that date out about 3 weeks because there is a particular surgeon. They have a rotation when they're on surgeries together. And there is one particular surgeon that he wants by his side when he does this surgery. So I feel pretty good about that because he, is getting the best hands available. But on the other side, he is seeing that this thing is serious enough that he wants the very best second set of hands helping him that he could get. So I review all of that, and I look at the track record Their fatality rate is really low, you know, much, much lower than anywhere in the country. You know, it's about a 2%, and usually those are complicated things, you know, involved. But so I feel pretty good. Well, the second thing I look at as far as what will kill me is me. You know, do I have pre-existing conditions that might jeopardize my chances here? And luckily, I'm pretty good. My blood pressure is a little high, but I decide, you know, we get that under control with some pills until it's down to normal. I got a little cholesterol deal, but big whoopee-doo. But I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't have diabetes, I'm not grossly overweight, you know, and all of these secondary things that could complicate it and make you be a poor patient. So I figure I check the box that I'm a pretty good patient for them to do this type of thing. And then the third thing I think about that will kill me is anesthesia. And anesthesia could kill anybody anytime. In my life working on animals, I never had an anesthesia death, knock on wood. I was very lucky. But you can have those deaths, and you could have them totally unexpected, drop out of the air for no particular reason. I knew of a person who went in for a knee surgery. They put a local anesthetic in his knee, and he died. Because your body's kind of weird, and sometimes it doesn't like what goes into it, and there's no way to know ahead of time. I've never been under general anesthesia, so I don't know. But I check into their anesthesia department, and when they do this many surgeries, plus they have a big open heart center there, you know, a very, very technical, well-skilled staff, and I decide that the anesthesia is going to be well handled. The last thing I figure that could kill me is just a black swan. You go in there, and for some reason, the universe has stacked the cards against you, and it's your time to check out. And I think about that a little bit, but then I think that if the universe wanted me dead, they would have had that radiologist be a little more sleepy when he was reading that scan of mine and not notice that about the aortas. So I'm figuring that through a higher power or karma or whatever you want to call it, that this has been brought to my attention in a way that gives me the choice to do something, and so I elect to do this. So day of surgery comes, and I go in there, and I look the anesthesiologist in the eye and remind him he has my life in his hands, because I always do that when my kids would go under anesthesia or anything, that it's just anesthesia is a boring job until it isn't, and then it is definitely not boring. But most of it, it's boring. Just sit there and listen to the machine beep. But so I have everybody lined up. I go in, they give me a shot in the arm, and it goes black for me. Well, I eventually gain consciousness, and I'm in the ICU unit, and I'm talking on the phone, or they have the phone dialed up. I'm talking to my wife, and I tell her that I made it. I wiggle my toes, I wiggle my fingers, you know, I assess whether my brain is working, you know, and I could concentrate and whatever, and I breathe a sigh of relief that I'm not going to be debilitated in some obscure way. And so next day, a surgeon comes in, talks to me about the surgery. Well, they schedule this surgery for 4 hours. I'm on the table for 8 hours. They're finish up replumbing all of these arteries and whatever with these grafts and everything that they put in there. Sew me up, I'm doing good. Suddenly they notice I don't have any pulse in my left leg. The blood clot has formed in my left leg. So they have to go in through the femoral artery, another whole complete new surgery, and go in and try to remove this blood clot. To do that, they give you heparin, which is an anticoagulant that kind of helps dissolve this clot. And normally they give like 100 or 200 units of heparin to a person, and that gets the clot dissolved until it releases and they can get it out. Well, not so much the case here. They give me 100, 200, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 32,000 units of heparin before this thing lets go and they could remove it. They don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. I think my blood is so thin by then that it could evaporate out through my skin. But I pull through that. I've lost a lot of blood during this, but they have a machine that, you know, sucks the blood up and filters it out and re-injects it into you, so you don't need a whole bunch of transfusions. But it's tough on the red blood cells, and instead of my blood having 50% red blood cells, there's only 6%. So I'm pretty weak and a little bit groggy for a while. But this all happens on a Monday, and the following Saturday, 5 days later, I walk out of there pain-free, on no medications, and I go home and recuperate another week or so, and it's probably one of the fastest recoveries for an old 71-year-old geezer they've ever seen. So I don't know about that, but I am very thankful that my body saw fit to be able to respond to this adversity and to pull me through that. And I'm also very happy and confident, you know, that this radiologist found all of this for me. So right now, that surgery was 3 weeks ago for me, and now I feel about 98% really good. A little bit of tiredness now and then, but not too bad. And every day I go out and sniff the air and walk the dogs, and there's just a little bit new appreciation for that. So I feel fortunate and I feel lucky, and I didn't want to have videos about this coming on and getting all of that, because I might have just checked out and you'd never hear from me again. But after the fact, put my head in the lion's jaws and came out without very many scratches on there. So just wanted you to know that, and I'll see if I can get busy and play a few songs, tell a few stories, or try to get back in the groove on things. So you guys have a good day. Catch you later.